Hello, everybody. Welcome to our CSA Ideas Lab. We today are excited to have local food marketplaces Stephanie with us, along with Andrea from Rosebird Farms, and we'll be talking about using online SNAP within the context of CSA. So happy you're all here with us today for this exciting topic, and we're recording this conversation. So even though we might have more folks hopping on here soon, let's go ahead and get started with our presentation. So again, thanks for joining the CSA Ideas Lab. This is a regular webinar series that's offered by the CSA Innovation Network. So as I mentioned, today we have the CSA Innovation Network hosting the CSA Ideas Lab with Stephanie Jager from Local Food Marketplace. Stephanie is calling in from Superior, Wisconsin. And then Andrea is from Rosebird Farms over in Arizona. So excited to have both of them here today. We'll hear from both of them about online SNAP in CSA before you have a chance to send your questions in. So feel free to use the chat as they are presenting, and then we'll wrap up in about an hour. So for a brief overview of the CSA Innovation Network, in case you're new to us or you haven't joined us before, the CSA Innovation Network is national. So we work all across the United States to connect consumers with CSA farmers and CSA farmers with each other, along with technical support services. And generally, we focus on educational programs, providing tools and resources that help CSA and allow you to idea share and engage with each other so that we can all support more strong and equitable CSA programs nationally. We also do a lot of consumer work to advocate for people finding out what CSA is if they're not aware of it and its value already. So stay tuned with the CSA Innovation Network and all of our programming across social media and our website. We do have other ideas labs that I'll share about at the end of the call today, but for now I'm going to hand things over to Stephanie to talk about local food marketplace and their support for online SNAP.
Thanks, Sadie. As she mentioned, I'm Stephanie Jager. I'm from Local Food Marketplace. We're going to run through a little bit of online SNAP conversation and how you can offer online SNAP to your CSA customers. So I'm going to start with a little bit of context around the specifics of online SNAP, and then we'll dive into ways to incorporate CSA into the new online SNAP world. So we are now integrated with Forage to offer online SNAP to qualified merchants. What that includes is an integrated checkout process on your storefront. We provide automated SNAP match support, support for all qualified merchants, guidance with updating store settings and products to meet FNS requirements, and then also support for eligible merchants going through the approval process. So just a little overview. It's important to note that FNS does not allow everyone to accept online SNAP. There's certain store types that have a path forward while others currently do not. So what we're looking at here is some information about what we know now about who FNS deems eligible and not eligible. So some criteria here would be owning your own inventory. Exemptions are available for nonprofit buying cooperatives. And then of course, if you're a direct marketing farmer, you already own your inventory, so you should be all set there. You currently have to already have in-person FNS authorization in order to apply for online SNAP processing. So that means like you already have to be transacting in person right now. If you don't, then you first need to apply with FNS for in-person transacting, and then you can go through the online process. So also there's I mentioned like different store types. So not everybody is eligible to apply for online SNAP. So right now, what we know are eligible store types are direct marketing farmer, delivery routes, nonprofit buying cooperatives, supermarkets, and grocery stores. Ineligible store types, unfortunately, are farmers markets. So if you're a farmers market here, you're not going to be able to go through this process at all. On hold, unsure, online only. There is one organization that's online only that went through the process and is live doing that, but right now FNS has paused that. So we're not really sure what that looks like if your designation is online only. So just a little context before we jump in here. Okay, so the reason we're talking about online SNAP specifically for CSAs is that traditional CSA or subscriptions are not actually eligible for online SNAP per FNS rules. Why? FNS requires that SNAP customers enter their PIN number for the transactions every time they place an order. So of course, if you're familiar with CSA, which y'all are here, so you probably are, you're like oftentimes taking prepayment for like distributions that are happening like really far into the season. And there's some requirements about that as well. But the key thing here is that the customer has to enter their PIN number for every transaction, and the Met delivery has to happen within 7 to 14 days, depending on what type of store type you are. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, so these next 3 slides are just going to kind of run through options. So if you're offering a CSA and you also want to do online SNAP, here's how we can do that. And we do have Andrea here, so I've got a couple screenshots from her store here, and she'll jump in here momentarily. But the first way to do this would be to set up a one-time CSA box or farm share product and just offer it on the storefront. So what we can see here is a screenshot that Andrea has set up on her site. It's just a one-time farm box for $35, and a customer can purchase that like on a weekly basis or basically whenever they want, weekly, bi-weekly. It's up to them. The next option would be to set up a bundled product on the storefront. Andrea doesn't have this set up quite yet, so I just pulled this from one of our other sites, but you can create basically mimicking a CSA box. Like you can list out the different products that you're going to offer in that like bundled, or, you can call it a CSA box. You don't have to call it a bundle. So CSA box or farm share, we can see like the name of it here, and then the different products that make up that box. And again, this is just a one-time order. And then the next option would be, not a CSA or a box, you can just utilize an online storefront and let the customer just build their own order using their SNAP card. So I have a screenshot of Andrea's store here. You can see here that under product attributes, she's got SNAP eligible and double up food bucks eligible. So a customer can come to this storefront and then they can filter this page by just SNAP eligible. So they know that, all right, these are the products that they can use with their SNAP card. And again, they can just purchase this on a one-time basis. All right, so there are a few other fine print details to consider when thinking through whether you want to offer online SNAP. If those models seem like they would work for you, great. There's a few other things to note. So minimum order requirements are not allowed for anybody using a SNAP card online. You can charge delivery fees, but they cannot be paid for with SNAP funds. We do support split tender. So, the customer can enter the amount they want to use for SNAP eligible products with their SNAP card, and then the rest can be paid with a different type of payment like a credit card. For direct marketing farmers and nonprofit buying cooperatives, delivery of this product must occur within 14 days of the order date. And then for all other store types, it's 7 days. I did allude to that a little bit earlier about why we're talking about this. And then, of course, the transaction for the share or product must be completed at checkout, which again, the SNAP customer has to enter their PIN number for that transaction. So it has to be charged at checkout. And then if you do have to allow the customer to cancel, I think Andrea can talk a little bit more about the fine details of this, but if the customer requests to cancel, those funds need to be refunded to the SNAP card within 2 days. Okay, before I pass it over to Andrea, just a little bit about SNAP Match. Let's see. So yeah, if your farm or CSA participates in SNAP Match, we do support that in a couple different ways. So the 2 different SNAP Match programs that we typically see would be an account credit model. So again, you can have your CSA option set up on the storefront. And there's some tools on the back end, of course, to set this up. But yeah, a customer can pay with their SNAP card on your site and it generates a credit. That credit is going to be visible to that customer. And actually, we have a screenshot, so Andrea will be able to actually show you this. But that credit can be applied to eligible products in a customer's future order. And then the other model would be a discount model, and that would be where a customer gets a discount code that can be applied to their current order. Farms can customize what products are eligible for SNAP Match, and then you can also set a transaction and daily maximum for that. Okay, timeline. I know there was some questions submitted earlier on timeline. Excellent question. So if you already accept SNAP in person, then the timeline is approximately 8 to 10 weeks to approval. Forage will assist with submitting an LOI to FNS. That's who our integration is with. And then our team at LFM will help you get your storefront ready to pass FNS testing. If you are not already transacting in person with SNAP, then that's like a whole nother process. So I don't know how long that takes. You'll have to figure that part out and then add 8 to 10 weeks onto that. All right, I'm gonna pass it over to Andrea. She was our first, just for context, she was our first farm that went through this process with us. She was our pilot farm. So she's got a lot of experience with this. And yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself, Andrea. Oh, you're on mute still. I know. It's like famous words on Zoom.
Hey everyone, I am Andrea McAdow from Rosebird Farms in northwestern Arizona, Kingman. I have about 200 member CSA, and we've been doing it for about 6 years here, and we work with we have our own farm, and then we work with a bunch of other farmers as well to aggregate and sell through our CSA program and online store. So we were really excited about online SNAP. It's something that's really central to what we do and in the services we want to offer our community. One of the big things that was huge for us being able to offer online SNAP is being able to do home delivery. We're in a really rural part of Arizona, and so we serve customers up to like an hour away, and some people don't have a grocery store within 30 minutes. So this was huge because now we could accept payment online instead of having to have people come in and pay. So that was really exciting for us. We are also able to team up with a nonprofit here in Arizona to offer free delivery promotions. So that was something too, to just offer food and make it more accessible to our community. Snap Match Online was another big thing. We have Double Up Food Bucks Arizona here. So as Stephanie was talking about before with the incentives, being able to give those incentives to people online, whereas they had to come into the store to use them previously. It's also been a pretty big reduced administrative burden, which I'll talk about a little bit later, versus the in-person tracking that we've had to do before. And it's also helped reduce our no-shows of people signing up online and not picking up. And if you've been doing this, you know how stressful that can be if people don't come to pick up their box, don't pay, and then you have to eat the cost. So some of our goals for online SNAP. Expanded customer base, which is huge in revenue. So we'll be able to reach more people now that we're able to do home delivery and allow people to shop online in a more convenient manner, and not have to necessarily fit within the constraints of a physical pickup time and place. Also offering more accessibility to local food, like I mentioned before, reaching customers that are unable to physically pick up and offering reduced costs. So with the Snap Match, so that they can afford more food and make our sometimes more expensive locally produced food more competitive with the grocery store. So weekly workflow, definitely with online SNAP now in local food marketplace, which we use specifically, it has helped reduce our administrative work. Previously, we allowed customers to order online, place their CSA order, and then they would have to come and pick up, which meant for us a lot of communication back and forth between the office and the people who are running pickup, making sure we had slips and letting them know what their credit matching was and getting that all recorded. They also had to record the Snap Match, which, like, if you've had to do that and had to do that before, you know it can get a little bit confusing. Now that's all just done online and automatic. We don't have to go through and calculate anything, and we can just pull our reports at the end of the month too. Everything is also paid up front, so I don't have to have my staff on pickup worrying about taking payments, which is really nice. For the customer, the main difference now is before they could just go and sign up for a subscription for a season. Now they just have to go in weekly, and they can either place their a la carte order or their CSA, but that doesn't seem to be an issue for my customers right now. Okay, so Snap Match and CSA. So we are able to go on into each of our individual items and set the attributes. So for us, that means marking which are SNAP eligible that people can pay with their SNAP card and which ones they can pay with their Double Up Food Bucks credit. So we can customize each of those. Pretty much everything is, right now we have a SNAP eligible. In Arizona for us, for example, our SNAP Match eligible items are fresh produce, dried beans, and edible plants. So they could only use the credits for those things, but it allows us to set that up really easily, which is great. Like I said before, automatic math system just does it. We don't have to go through and record anything, and the customer can just go and view their credits on their account. So we don't have to track that for them as well. Yeah, built-in snap match. So same thing, they run their transaction and it just populates their account with the credit. And we can, like I said before, we can pull the report at the end of the month and submit it to our partners that run the program. Yep, so this is a screenshot of that. You can see in the top, it tells them their total incentive credit that they have on their account, and then they can go ahead and choose to elect to apply it. Some people in our community, they'll kind of like rack up points and like spend it all at once if they can. So they don't have to spend their credits every single time. And then they can go select online SNAP EBT. It tells them their total. Once they hit confirm order, it'll take them to the Forage website to complete their transaction.
All right.
I think that's all we
Thank you
had.
both so much for sharing. We do have one question in the chat really quick before we move into the rest of Q&A. Could you clarify a little bit more about what is Snap Match, or just describe it again?
Yeah, so I think it's different state to state. So ours in Arizona, it's called Double Up Food Bucks. And for us, for every dollar, there's a few different models. We do the grocery store model, the farmer's market model, which for every dollar spent on Arizona produced product, they earn a matching dollar towards fresh produce, dried beans, or edible plant starts.
Great. So I do see some questions coming into the chat. So just want to reiterate for everybody, feel free to come on video if you are comfortable or would like to do that. You can feel free to raise your hand and we'll unmute you to ask questions. Otherwise, I can moderate and pull questions from the chat. We also did have some questions that were submitted before the webinar that I will pull from to have Stephanie and Andrea answer. But first, I guess we can start off with this question in the chat about why farmers markets are not allowed currently and whether they might be in the future. Anything to share there, Stephanie or Andrea?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not obviously an expert. I'm not FNS. They make the rules. Specific questions should be directed to them about that. But the short version is because farmers markets don't own inventory. You saw on a previous screen that online SNAP requires that the organization own at least part of their inventory. And how much inventory depends on the store type that you are, which gets into a whole nother FNS conversation. So I definitely direct you there, but that's the short version. It's related to inventory.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. And again, it is something to just keep in the loop of FNS updates again to find out what that state is going forward.
For sure.
A somewhat related question is how SNAP, particularly online SNAP, might work with multi-farm CSAs. We did have this submitted ahead of time as a question too. If you are part of a multi-farm CSA collective or food hub, Stephanie, I think you just had like an FAQ document of resources to direct people towards.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, Andrea, do you want to take that first, Andrea, just since you have experience with that?
Sure. Yeah. So we have a multi-farm CSA. So I think the main thing again is inventory. So we have to purchase all our inventory up front and put it into our availability online. So we just have to show that there is an inventory tracking module that we use to show that for FNS. But it works fine for us. So I think it's just being able to show that you purchase that ahead of time is the main.
And we do have some organizations going through the process right now with Forage that are multi-farm and they offer CSAs. So it's definitely possible. It just, again, it kind of just depends on what store type you are, what FNS store type you are.
And I'll say too, we do a customizable CSA. So whether you're doing, just a set selection or customizable, it does work either way for the online SNAP. So that's just something to know and consider too.
There is a question having to do with reconciliation each month or otherwise reporting and sort of the administrative side of online SNAP. Stephanie, is there an example or a screen grab you would be able to share about what the back end looks like for this setup?
I don't have that readily available right now, but if it's appropriate, we could include it in like a follow-up. Andrea, do you have anything readily available that you'd feel comfortable sharing?
I don't think I have anything like ready to go, but
Yeah.
it's been pretty nice. You can just set your timelines. So I'll just set mine from, because I go month by month reporting. So I'll just set it from first of the month, end of the month, and it will pull up all of the actual transactions. It'll pull up all of the credits earned, and then I can pull up a separate report with all the credits that were spent too. So then I can go into my forage reporting and just double check that those match up, that nothing was, something didn't get screwed up or something too.
Andrea, on this note of the administrative side, I know you mentioned that this has been a great decrease in the amount of time that you're putting into accepting SNAP. Can you talk about, in general, how much time you are spending on the setup here or meeting governmental regulations and requirements for reporting? How has this impacted like the amount of SNAP, the volume of SNAP sales that you're processing with online SNAP now?
Yeah, so the setup definitely took some time, but working with Forage and LFM, like it really was pretty streamlined. They helped me with a lot of it. So it was a few meetings here and there, but once it got set up, it hasn't been more work than me doing my in-person stuff. So it's just me continuing to keep an eye on things, and yeah, it's really not like, I feel like it fits in very easily with, our regular credit card transactions. And then, yeah, we've definitely seen an uptick in sales. Didn't advertise it a bunch the first month, but I'd say we did probably about $500 online the first month, and it's been going up from there. So.
Has this been something where you've seen an increase in customers? Are you still working just within your existing customer base and seeing
I've
more sales from them?
definitely noticed a few new customers, not a ton yet. But like I said, I haven't done a ton of outreach, just trying to get the feel for things first. But yeah, it seems like even the customers who we've had previously are starting to spend a little bit more now too, that they can do this credit model a little bit easier online.
And then do you have delivery fees? I'm seeing a question in the chat about incorporating delivery into taking SNAP and how that might work.
Yeah, so I do delivery fees. I have a few different locations. So I'm throughout northern Arizona, from like the western border of Nevada to Flagstaff, which is about central Arizona. So depending on how far we're going, I can set different delivery fees per location. But right now for SNAP, I am offering free delivery as a promotion, just to start getting more people onboarded into it.
Stephanie, is there any consideration on the LFM side about how online SNAP is incorporated into things that are not the actual food purchases, like deliveries or other items being offered by the farm, merch or other materials?
Yeah, as I mentioned, farms can go into their products and indicate which products are SNAP eligible, and also double up food box eligible. So, the integration with Forage will only allow you to like check out a SNAP order like for SNAP eligible products. So you just enter the total in there and then pay the rest with a credit card or some other form of payment. So yeah, pretty straightforward.
And we did have one question that was submitted before the call about using SNAP for an on-farm seedling sale. You have mentioned that it's eligible for edible plants, correct? So could either of you talk about how a farm could just use online SNAP to support selling seedlings to their CSA customers?
Oh, yeah, it would work just the same as produce. So they would be able to use their, like they would just have to set up the product as SNAP eligible, and they could, just check out and do it all online and have them ready to go for them to come pick up.
Yeah, the only consideration would be what I mentioned earlier about when the distribution is happening. It has to be within 7 to 14 days from the order. So I know sometimes the seed sales are happening months ahead of time. So it would just be something to consider. I don't know the specifics of seed sales, but.
Great, thank you for answering that. Yeah, it sounds like it would be relatively easy for people to just have seedlings that would be paid for in that short up to 2 week window before the seedling sale and then available for pickup on the farm.
Mhm.
Yeah, at this point, I think we are mostly through the questions that we received during registration. So I just want to take a moment to pause and offer again for people to raise their hand, come off of mute, or just add any more questions that you're thinking of into the chat for Stephanie and Andrea to talk about.
And in the meantime, I'm going to throw a link to our online SNAP guide in the chat. There's a lot of information, a lot of FAQs in there, specifically about store types as well and eligibility, just in case there's some more questions about those. So feel free to check that out. And there's some next steps in there too. We also have, here, let me throw one more thing in there. There's an FAQ page. And then if you're interested in learning more, there's a form on there on that page that you can fill out.
Yeah, thank you for sharing both of those resources. We will also have the slides that Stephanie and Andrea shared sent out with the recording after this presentation wraps up. And we will share links to all of the relevant resources that are included that have been shared today whenever we send out that follow-up email after the call. So don't worry, you'll have the recording and all of the links available to you after the fact. Yeah, I did want to just ask if anyone else who's on this call, since I do see we have several people from farms across the country, if you have incorporated online SNAP into your CSA yet, or if you just are working with in-person paper SNAP processing right now, feel free to share your story too. We do have another question to go through though at the moment. So Andrea, this is a question for you about when you purchase inventory from the farmers
Yeah,
and
so
whether that's before the CSA purchase.
yeah, so that's usually my workflow is we deliver on Wednesdays and Fridays. So the previous Wednesday is when I go and place all my orders with my farms. I upload my availability. And then the following day, on Thursday, the ordering opens for add-ons and customization. So I do go ahead and like place all the orders ahead of time. But it works out pretty nicely with just the timing.
Thank you for clarifying that.
And to add to, like, if there, I think we talked a little bit about the refunds. If there's still like allowance for being farms and things not going to plan. So if you do need to give a refund, it does just need to be within those, like the 2 days. Or if they cancel, it has to be within 2 days to their card. But I haven't noticed any cancellations, so it's nothing I have been terribly concerned about. Yeah, that's just something to be aware of too, that it still allows you to be like an operating farm where things go wrong sometimes.
Something that is coming to mind for me is just the transparency on your online store of the SNAP eligible items and if there's any like differentiation in treatment for the customers who are applying SNAP to their items and using that to check out versus customers who are purchasing everything at without SNAP being applied to it. Does that all end up just looking the same when you're filling orders for customers on your end, or how do you handle just seeing who's using online SNAP or not? How's that play
Yeah,
into your CSA management?
it really, like, if I weren't to go pull a report of seeing like what was paid with SNAP versus credit card, like I wouldn't see it come across any different on my interface. So yeah, it all just goes into my pick list, just the same as it would otherwise, and makes it really easy, streamlined.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear that it's just pretty much puts everybody on the same playing field, and to you it's the same workflow that you would be using to fulfill your CSA orders regardless of the payment method. Okay. And then Stephanie answered in chat a question about LFM's services specifically. Feel free to email Stephanie if you do want to connect one-on-one with local food marketplace. And again, we'll have the contact information shared with the follow-up resources. Are there any other questions at this time, or do people want to share your experience with using SNAP in CSA, or anything you're wondering as you might be transitioning into online SNAP? Okay. not hearing anything else right now. Just totally fine. We had a really nice presentation about how it works in LFM, and then got to hear a Rosebird Farms story from Andrea. Stephanie and Andrea, is there anything else either of you want to add or just dig into a little bit more before we move into wrapping up the call today?
I don't think so.
Well, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I will go ahead and pull up our wrap-up slides. Oh, yeah. So we can go ahead and finish up here. Like I said, we will have the recording shared with everybody, and these slides will be shared out as well. So Stephanie did already share the online SNAP guide from LFM and the online SNAP FAQ page. There is an interest form available so that you can reach out if you're interested in getting this set up. We have a few we also have the contact information for both Stephanie and Andrea if you want to talk with local food marketplace or talk more about Rosebird Farms specific work with online SNAP. And then I do have one quick poll, which is just asking for some very short feedback. It's one question on today's presentation that helps inform our programming going forward. So if you want to take a moment to answer this question, then I will move into a couple of other wrap-up resources and reference information for us today. If you do have any questions that are coming to mind, feel free to still add them to the chat. You have some extra time built into our schedule today. So I wanted to share some upcoming CSA Ideas Labs. We do have a few that are lined up over the summer months for CSA members. This is pretty exciting. It's the first for the CSA Innovation Network. We are going to be having how to be a successful CSA member, how to sustain your CSA membership, make it the best you can be. So this would be something for those of you who are CSA farmers and CSA support organizations to share with CSA customers and get them to plug into these Ideas Lab events and learn about cooking with your CSA and just some really good strategies to make the most out of the CSA membership. So we have a two-part series coming up next month in June. And then in July, we're going to be hearing from farmer and author Jerry Apps, who is Wisconsin-based, about the future of rural communities and how specifically CSA farmers can take a role in rural communities, connecting people with the land around them and the food that's grown on that land, and just the importance of small farms in America in today's day and age right now. So that's an exciting event coming up in July. And then we'll have a cooking class again geared at CSA members at the end of July. So stay tuned for those Ideas Labs and registration for them on our website. We also are working on setting up a few more webinars that are more CSA focused, CSA farmer focused throughout the rest of the summer and the rest of the year. Like I've mentioned, the slides and recording will be shared in a follow-up, and then we do have a resource library online where you can find resources shared by presenters in our CSA Ideas Labs. Our CSA Ideas Lab webinars are all stored on our website, including from a few months ago, we also talked about accepting SNAP Online with Grown By. So Farm Generations Cooperative has a different platform that has online store support for CSAs. So there are different options out there for accepting SNAP Online. Fortunately, we've got connections with multiple through the CSA Innovation Network, so you can take the time to explore what might work best for your farm. And we have all of these posted on our YouTube channel as well. Thanks for joining us today. I just want to say thank you again for giving your time and attention. And thank you very much for Andrea and Stephanie both coming to talk with us and share about local food marketplace offering online SNAP and just a little bit more about utilizing online SNAP in the context of CSA in general. At the Innovation Network, we're just very happy to explore all of the options that exist for supporting greater food access and connecting more people in CSA more equitably. So appreciate all of the time that's been given to this. We can stay here on the line for anybody that does have more questions. But otherwise, thanks again for joining. And this recording will be posted to share out with anyone who wasn't able to make it live today. And we'll see you all next time.